Welcome to the home team, the show where no matter who you cheer for, here you're a part of the home team. And in this episode, we are going to be doing a preview and breakdown of the Thursday night game with the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Before we jump in, hit like, hit subscribe. I would really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow a lot. And without any further ado, let's jump in. So, the Niners and the Seahawks. San Francisco comes into this game at 2-3, Seattle at 3-2. And this is one of those early season matchups where the stakes are pretty simple. San Francisco wins, they're first in the division. Seattle wins, they're first in the division. This is an interesting game as well because both of these teams have been interesting through 5 weeks. San Francisco, at moments, has looked like their normal selves. However, red zone inefficiency coupled with a drop-off in personnel on the defensive side of the ball have brought them a little bit closer to the pack than they were before. And while they're playing very well through most of the games, they're struggling to finish them, it would seem. And as far as Seattle's concerned, Seattle does a very good job, for the most part, of beating bad teams, with the exception of the Giants, who managed to beat them last week. And then when they ran into real competition, they were sort of exposed in a way. I don't want to say they were exposed because it was a competitive game, but it was shown that Seattle is certainly like in the range of teams that are good but have weaknesses of their own, and we'll see exactly what those manifest as in this game, as these two teams both know each other very well. So jumping right in with what I usually do, which is I compare every position on the team, tell you who I think has the advantage, and then I'll tell you if I think that score is ultimately accurate. So Seattle gets a 1-point home team advantage for being at home, and for them it's a very real advantage with that 12th man. Quarterback, Brock Purdy and Geno Smith. I'm going to give the edge to Brock Purdy. I think Geno Smith has played well, but I believe Brock Purdy is just a better quarterback on the whole. I believe that he does better when things break down, and I think that while there are still people who could be skeptics, I am not one of those people. I think he's a very good player. Running backs. I would love to call this a draw between the two, but I am personally not liking the fact that Jordan Mason has now fumbled the ball in 2 straight games. I need to see a little bit more security from him, and I think he may have gotten a little bit comfortable in his role and believed in himself a little too much, and he might have got a little sloppy. And I'm hoping that they lock back in, because when they do, San Francisco's rushing attack is as good as anybody's and better than most. I'll give Seattle the 1-point edge with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Wide receivers, I'm going to give them both points for this category. Wide receiver for San Francisco is pretty simple. You know, you got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, and that's maybe the best 3 in the league. But Seattle has a pretty good claim to that title as well, with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. So I don't think either team gets a huge advantage at that spot. So when you have 2 teams with strong units like that, you both get a point. So on to tight ends. This is San Fran without a doubt. George Kittle against Noah Fant. It's not close. George Kittle is one of the, if not the best tight end in the entire league. And San Francisco also utilizes him much more than Seattle utilizes Noah Fant. So we will give the edge to George Kittle pretty definitively on that one. Offensive line. This is also going to San Francisco, even though I think that Seattle has shown improvement in this area. If you look at how they're grading out according to Pro Football Focus, San Francisco's offensive line ranks 13th and Seattle's is at 27th. Outside of Charles Cross taking a big leap at left tackle for the Seahawks, the rest of the line is not quite coalescing and gelling the way that they would like to yet. San Francisco, however, Trent Williams is Trent Williams. Dominic Pooney appears to be a very good find for the 49ers at right guard. And I think that Kyle Shanahan in general has covered up for having not a particularly talented group up there, and I think that's why they haven't invested a ton of resources there, much to my chagrin. But with those two playing well and the Shanahan scheme, the 49ers offensive line is playing well. Onto the defensive side of the ball. Defensive lines, I'm going to give them both a point here, and here's why. San Francisco's defensive line undoubtedly has the best defensive lineman in this game with Nick Bosa. However, what Seattle lacks for the star power, they make up for in just volume. They throw multiple guys at you, Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy, just to like name the guys that are truly in ascendance. Boye Mafe has been getting better every year since he entered the league, and obviously Byron Murphy was their first round pick this year on the interior. San Francisco has also lost Javon Hargrave, which is not small. And frankly, without him, I believe that the 49ers defensive line is struggling to get the type of pressure it needs. If Nick Bosa, who is playing at a great level, very, very high level, according to Pro Football Focus, he's grading out, I believe, in the top 5 in terms of edge rushers. Let me check that real quick for you. Nick Bosa is grading out as, the 3rd best edge rusher in the entire league, which is great. The only problem is, when he's the only person there doing it, it causes problems. And that gets to something that I'll address here in a moment, in that I don't believe that the 49ers are doing a great job of having like their pass rush and their coverage make sense together. And I'll get into that in a minute. Linebacking core, let's be real about this. I think that Seattle may have some very good young players who are ascending, but they're also, saying goodbye to Bobby Wagner and guys like that. So that phase of their defense is in a little bit of transition, but San Francisco puts Fred Warner out there, and he by himself, I think, elevates the 49ers linebacking core. They cannot get Dre Greenlaw back soon enough because Devondre Campbell's simply not cutting it. And I'm of the firm belief, especially as somebody who in general roots for the 49ers, I am somebody who really believes that they need a youth movement on the defensive side of the football. I believe that they've gotten a little too slow, especially in the back end of their defense where they need to be able to fly around more. Outside of Fred Warner, it's just not there. So I will take them, though, because Fred Warner himself is elite. And the Seahawks with Jerome Baker and, what's his name? Dodson. They're not playing awful, but San Francisco sports one of the few truly game-changing guys at that position. As for the secondary, this goes to Seattle pretty easily, in my opinion. And I would say that this might be San Francisco's weakest unit, and unfortunately, I think that it's a huge problem. Talanoa Hufanga is out once again because of an injury to his wrist. Not exactly sure when he'll be back. In this game, Travarius Ward is out, which is huge because historically he's played quite well against DK Metcalf. So at safety, the Niners are putting out Jair Brown in his second year and the rookie Malik Mustafa, who's a hitter, but we don't quite know exactly what he is in terms of being able to cover. And I get a feeling in a game like this, it can be pretty important. So that being said, on to what I was saying about the Seahawks and the 49ers in terms of how they're doing things. I have a lot of faith in Mike McDonald as a play caller on defense, and I think that they're playing well. And, just if we were talking about how these teams are ranked just generally on that front, San Francisco's defense, they're still grading out well, which is wild that they're somehow in the top 10, and Seattle's is also in the top 10. And San Francisco's offense grades out first, oddly enough, which is wild, given that San Francisco grades out first overall as an entire team, and they're sitting here at 2-3, which goes to my point of something is just not right with the 49ers right now. And in my opinion, it's this. In crucial situations and on crucial downs, the 49ers defense is not holding up the way it needs to. They want their defensive line to be the thing that they run their defense through. They have ever since Nick Bosa arrived in San Francisco. However, they get to these crucial situations where they want to do that, and yet they still allow, for example, 3rd and 7. That's a down where you want your defensive lineman to be able to tee off and try to get the sack. However, on 3rd and 7, they have guys sitting 9 yards off the football, or their corners 9 yards off these receivers, and they just run these quick game things and they're able to get it out fast. When you're allowing the quick game stuff, you're not allowing your defensive line to thrive. So Nick Bosa can get as many quick pass rush pass rush wins as you want, but if the ball's out in 2 seconds, it's never going to matter. So I think that we need to see some adjustments in terms of how they're deploying their secondary. And if you're telling me that the personnel is not good enough in the secondary for them to do that, well, then they should be doing what I've been saying they need to do for years, which is invest in the secondary. Because Seattle, they can be very multiple in the secondary, with Witherspoon, Woolen, Julian Love's playing great this year as well for Seattle. So there's really no excuse in the modern NFL to not have answers against every variation of the pass, because that's just the way the league's going. So in terms of the 49ers, I think that they're really, really good. They just need to really tighten up on the details because they've been close in every game. Nobody's really going to blow them out, I don't think. Or if it happens, it'll happen once a year, like it can happen to every team. So overall here, those are the rosters. And then in terms of the coaches, I'm going to give the advantage to Kyle Shanahan. I still am figuring out exactly what I think of Mike Macdonald as a coach, just because 5-game sample size. We've only seen them really play against one awesome team with the Lions. So this is another good test for them. And, we're slowly gathering more intel on the Seahawks. But until I see Mike Macdonald, be able to make them consistently like a top dog, I'm going to have a hard time putting him over the likes of Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, other guys in the division like that. So overall, the final score here is San Francisco 7, Seattle 5. Do I think that is reflective of how this game is going to go? And do I think San Francisco is going to win? Yes. I think San Francisco is going to win this game because I think they're pissed off. They don't want to go down. They don't want to be going 2-4 and have 3 of the losses be in their division. That's huge. It's a huge problem. And if that happens, I think that you're looking at them evaluating if they need to bring people in on this roster, or they start evaluating who is going to be replaced in this offseason. Because San Francisco, this has been one of those years where the injuries have gotten to them, and it's cost them the Rams win, in my opinion. I don't think that if they were healthy that they would have lost the Rams game. And at worst, they'd be 3-2, falling to 3-3. But I think that health is huge. I think that closing is huge, because I don't doubt that there'll be at some point in this game where San Francisco has a lead. Probably they tend to do that. But the problem is they've given up 2 double-digit leads, and normally that's not a huge thing in my opinion. The way that the NFL works now, a 10-point lead can go away in a second. Like, it's only once you're up 3 possessions that I think you can start to consider this to be, you should win this. 2 possessions in the NFL is not what it used to be with the restrictions on how teams are allowed to play defense. But it's still concerning that 2 times in 5 games it's happened. And I also think that the other key to victory here for San Francisco is red zone efficiency. They have the most red zone plays in the NFL, but convert bottom half, I believe it is. It's not nearly enough. So they move the ball a ton, but they get in the red zone and they stall. And that can't happen. If those are just touchdowns, San Francisco could very well be 5-0. Or I would say 4-1. I think that Minnesota outplayed them. Granted, they still had a chance to win, but I just believe Minnesota outplayed them. So I'm going to say 4-1 is more realistic, because credit where credit's due to the Vikings. In terms of Seattle, keys to victory, it's pretty simple. They got to protect with that offensive line. They got to be able to just stay, ahead of the sticks. And then when San Francisco drives, they can't let them get that red zone efficiency. So I think they're one of the few teams also that has the potential to do what Minnesota does in terms of defense, which is the ability to be very multiple, to show different looks, and to be complicated, and to trick Brock Purdy, or try to. It's a little bit tougher when you're in the division. However, another advantage that Seattle has in my eyes is that they haven't Kyle Shanahan has not faced the Mike Macdonald Seahawks yet. So there's less familiarity on the part of the 49ers with what Seattle's going to try to do. And overall, I think that this is a tough game. It'll be a hard-fought game. I do believe that San Francisco is just a little more motivated and a little more talented overall. If they lose, I think that this is, alarm bells, and it's time to start figuring out exactly what the problem is and how it can be fixed. As somebody who likes the 49ers quite a bit, I'm not somebody, unless it's a truly rare player, I'm not hoping we make big changes this year, because I do believe that at the end of this year, no matter what, I think it's time you start searching for the next phase of this team and to get a bit younger. Um, and I don't think we need to be giving away premium assets to do that. I think that the 49ers have played well enough that they could be one of the top teams in the league again. They just have to get it down to finishing. And after a while, you are what you are. We've seen this before with a lot of teams. It's like, oh, they'll find their rhythm, they'll find this, and they just don't always. So I think this is a very telling game for both teams. If Seattle beats the 49ers, I think it shows a lot for what Mike McDonald's building in the Pacific Northwest. And that would show that San Francisco potentially, this core of this team has run its course and they need to start making some tough decisions. And if Seattle loses, I think it shows that, they're ascending, they're building something good, but they're probably a year away from being a true contender. So, with that being said, everybody enjoy Thursday Night Football. Hopefully everybody comes out of this game relatively healthy. Good luck to all you Seahawks fans out there, but I'll be sporting my red and gold. So, have a great night, guys. Peace. Bang, bang, Niner gang.